Just when you thought it was safe to practice witchcraft again, a homicidal maniac goes on the loose and ruins it for everybody. Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello everybody, I'm Andrew Fantasia. Welcome to Thumb Together. Thanks for tuning in. And today we're going to be talking about Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald together. Is it Grindelwald, Grindelwald? I think it depends on what side of Europe you're coming from. But either way, this guy committed some crimes, apparently. So this whole movie is like a 2.5-hour episode of America's Most Wanted. If you have any information on the whereabouts of this man, please call our hotline now. A few quick things here to kind of preface this. Harry Potter, the whole Harry Potter thing, love it. Yes, please. You know, it's great. Who doesn't enjoy a good Potter story? It's just a lot of fun. It's great world building. It's got all the beautiful things you could ever want in a fantasy. The Fantastic Beasts movie, the first one, I liked the idea of having that change of pace, set in the same world. You know, that's the same kind of thing they're doing with Star Wars, and take it away from the main story we've been following and just tell more stories in the same world. And I liked that a lot. But the movie itself was a little bit underwhelming. Not bad, but underwhelming. The Crimes of Grindelwald is a step better. It's a step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. But it's still underwhelming. And I was trying to put all the puzzle pieces together in my head and figure out, okay, Andrew, seriously, get your shit together. Why is this underwhelming? What's wrong? Is it just me? Am I just biased because I don't get to see Hermione say, Aloha Mora? Like, what is missing here? And I think when I looked at it from that direction, the only thing I could find that was so different it must be the missing ingredient is the main character himself. So we had Harry Potter, and now we have Newt Scamander. Again, there are differences between the two that I like, and differences that I'm not so crazy about yet. One thing I like is Harry Potter is a very typical Joseph Campbell kind of hero. Okay, he's the chosen one. He's really, really powerful. He's just the most special snowflake in the whole wide world, and everything revolves around him. And Voldemort's whole thing is, I gotta kill Harry. That's my drive in life. That's my hobby. I collect stamps and I kill Harry Potter. That's what I do. That was the whole crux of that story, was the universe revolves around Harry Potter. Whereas in this case, and I like this about it, is that Newt Scamander, he's not, the big chosen one hero who's preordained to save the world from evil. He's just some, really shy dude who likes platypuses. That's it. It's that simple, dog. He's not your typical protagonist who, is so powerful he can take down any dark wizard. He's not even on Grindelwald's radar. Grindelwald's preoccupied with, the Ministry of Magic and Dumbledore. He doesn't know who Newt Scamander is. Newt Scamander comes around, he's like, hello, I've got a little duck in my pocket. And Grindelwald's like, okay, who are you? Are you a threat to me? Because I've got other things to do. We don't have to sit here all day and talk. That is very cool. He's just sort of an innocent bystander who gets dragged into the fight as opposed to the centerpiece of this massive battle. I like that. A difference that I don't like is that Harry is the kind of hero who would be, I guess, a little bit more proactive. Harry would run around, we'd follow his adventure from book to book, and he would get himself in these situations and get his friends in these situations, and they fight their way out of it. In the two movies we've seen, Newt Scamander doesn't really feel like he does a whole lot of much. We kind of just get that vibe from him. He loves animals. He's a nice fella. He's got his friends, and he's like, hello, you're my friend. And he's got his little animals in his pocket and stuff. And he's first and foremost, he's like, I'm taking care of these animals. And when all this stuff is happening around him, he's just kind of there observing and reacting. He's much more of a reactive hero than a proactive hero. And in some cases, that's fine. In this case, though, I think that is working against the movies. Because in The Crimes of Grindelwald, the most interesting characters are pretty much everybody except Newt Scamander and his muggle friend. Newt and Jacob are just kind of there standing around staring as all this really interesting stuff happens around them. And because they're the main characters, the plot focuses on them a lot. And I'm sitting there thinking, I kind of wish, we saw a little bit more of Zoe Kravitz's character. And not just because Zoe Kravitz is drop dead gorgeous and she can call me anytime she wants, Zoe. Seriously. My number's in the link below. But because Zoe Kravitz's character was really cool and interesting, and I wanted to know more about her, and I wanted to know more about Newt's brother, and I wanted to know more about Grindelwald and Grindelwald's people. Grindelwald has a character who follows him around. She's like his right-hand woman, and I can't for the life of me remember this character's name, but she was so cool. She just had this like mysterious Ingrid Bergman kind of quality to her, where she had her hat kind of tilted down over one eye. She was just very mysterious and dangerous, and she's doing all these things for Grindelwald, and you're just like, what's her deal? But we gotta focus back on Newt, and he's just like, oh, I hope my Niffler had enough to eat today. So it's a little bit frustrating in that way, and for all the people out there who have complained about how Fantastic Beasts 1 was not their favorite movie, and I think they're the same people complaining now about this one, I get it. I like the movies. I don't love them. I like them. But if you can't stand them, I get it. I'm not going to sit here and try to defend it and be like, no, you're not seeing the bigger picture, because I totally understand why you wouldn't like this movie. I think what I really enjoyed most about Crimes of Grindelwald is the tone that it sets. It feels a lot like Casablanca. There's a lot of parts in this movie where I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, and I'm like, I feel like I'm watching Casablanca right now, because there's this intrigue. It's very much like a spy thriller, like an old-timey pre-James Bond spy thriller. Okay, nobody's using gadgets. It's just people sending telegrams and wearing hats and trench coats and walking around dark city streets. That's the feeling you get in Crimes of Grindelwald, and there's a lot of that going on between, what the Aurors are doing, what Zoe Kravitz's character does, and what Catherine Waterston's character does, mixed with Grindelwald's people, especially that lady with the hat, whose name I wish I knew. They're doing this really shady thing, in the underbelly of Paris. It's got that real cool film noir vibe to it. So if you're a fan of stuff like Casablanca or The Maltese Falcon, check out Crimes of Grindelwald with that in mind, because I really think you're going to dig that aspect a lot. The other big thing that I loved about Crimes of Grindelwald that was definitely missing in the first movie was mystery. Every Harry Potter book, and subsequently every Harry Potter movie, revolved around a mystery. Where's the Philosopher's Stone? Where is the Chamber of Secrets? What's this monster killing everybody? What happened to Sirius Black? Like, every book was a mystery unto itself. And I loved that. I can't get enough of that. Who's the Half-Blood Prince? That's this kind of stuff that keeps us guessing. Fantastic Beasts 1, that wasn't a factor. It was just like running around Central Park going like this and getting a rhino to go into a suitcase, and it's fun to watch, but it's not very intriguing. Crimes of Grindelwald brings back the mystery in the form of sort of an identity crisis, because we got the character from the first movie played by Ezra Miller, the character of Credence, and Credence is trying to find out who his real parents are and basically what his lineage is. And the whole crux of the movie revolves around people trying to either get that information or keep it from him. And it had been so long since I'd seen the first movie that I totally forgot that Credence was adopted by that weird family in New York. All of that totally slipped my mind completely. I didn't even know he had a last name. Apparently his last name is Barebone. He's Credence Barebone. That's something that I totally forgot about too. I always thought Credence's last name was Clearwater Revival. So finding out the identity of Credence's family lineage was what drove the plot. I had a theory in the middle of the movie. I was like, I think he's going to be this person. And I was wrong. I was very wrong. And what it ended up being, I'm not going to spoil in this video, but it makes me want to go back and flip through the Harry Potter books now and be like, okay, was this here before? Was there a mention of this before? Because if there wasn't, that's fine, that's cool. They could just add more to the lore here. But if there was a mention, then I'm like, damn, talk about planting seeds. That is really cool, and J.K. Rowling is great at that. However, there are points in this film, especially points of revelation, towards the end of the third act, where we get these answers about who is who, and it can get a little bit headache-inducing if you're not careful. I generally don't have too much trouble following complex plots, not all that often. This one I had to really sit and kind of do some Rubik's cubing in my head, because, again, without making any specific spoilers, there's a bunch of characters in a room together, and they're like, who are you? Who is your sibling? And the character's like, my sibling is dead now, but they were this person. And another character is like, well, actually, that person was also the one and the same with this person, but then that person had a child, and that child was switched at birth with this person. And it all happened one after another. It didn't really give you time to process all the misinformation, because some people are talking and they're like, oh, here's 5 things I know, but then another person will chime in and say, okay, that's great, but 3 of those things are wrong. Here's the real thing. And that all happens in one big chunk. So it got really hard to keep track of who was right and who was wrong. It would be like if in The Last Jedi, how we got those 3 separate flashbacks of what happened between Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren, but we got them all very spaced out. So imagine if all 3 of those happened one after the other. You'd be like, okay, wait, what? What's happening? That was how these revelations felt. It was just all one big soup of answers and quasi-truths and misinformed narrators. And I think I got the gist of what actually happened, what for realsies went down, but I needed to really stop and think about it and be like, okay, she's related to him and he's not related to them, but it was all very, very tricky. So it was fun to get the answers, but at the same time I'm like, oh my god, what is happening? Like, Accio truth, just give me the truth. Another word of warning here. Do not, I can't stress this enough, do not watch this movie in 3D. Just don't, baby. Do yourself a favor. Most of the Harry Potter films, particularly any of the ones directed by David Yates, so like the last 4 Potters and these 2 Fantastic Beasts, are very dark and gloomy films. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald takes place in, the 20s, where people didn't wear a whole lot of color. It was mostly gray and black. And it's set in very gloomy, foggy locations, lots of nighttime, lots of shadows. And, I mean, the first scene alone, the opening stinger before the title, is a scene in which you have a bunch of characters all wearing black coats, riding in a black carriage, being pulled by black horses against a black, stormy night sky. And it's an action scene. Imagine watching that scene with sunglasses in a dark theater. Not fun. Not the greatest. I didn't have a good time there because I was just like, what am I looking at? Is that water or is that Johnny Depp? It's both. Okay. I didn't know what I was seeing. If you're going to go in there with 3D glasses, be prepared to only get a glimpse of what you're looking at. It's like the late 90s and you're watching the porn channel and it's all scrambled and you're like, I think that's a boob. Like that's how the first scene of Grindelwald played out for me. Like, I think that's Johnny Depp's boob. Maybe. So all in all, the magic of the Potters is still not here yet. We're not quite there. But I found it to be a step up above part 1. And what I like about this is they're not cheaping out and doing what everybody does and just making it a trilogy. This is going to be 5 movies. That's 2 more than a trilogy. Math. So with that in mind, this tells me, okay, we had the one movie to introduce everything and it was kind of, shaky start, and now it's getting a little bit better, and now we have a whole trilogy left to really get the ball rolling and tie up everything and have a lot of just gosh darn fun, and that's what I can't wait for. So I'm still, even though I'm lukewarm on these movies, I'm still really excited for Fantastic Beasts 3, 4, and 5 because I know that they were smart enough to plot this out as a long-term thing. J.K. Rowling is a very smart woman. She knows how to tell a long-form story, and she's got everything ready to go. It's all queued up. All the seeds are planted. So I just can't wait to sit back and enjoy the rest of this ride, and hopefully by the time we get to the end, I can look back at all 5 and say, you know what, Fantastic Beasts? You're all right. I like you, kid. But that's enough rambling from this muggle's mouth. I'm Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I will see you here next time, and until then, expecto patronum, baby. For the record, my Patronus would be Jeff Goldblum. Just saying.